In helping you to discover your life here at Faith, we've talked about doing some historical videos of our life here at Faith by some of our members to share with you their perspective on three fundamental questions that I asked about their point of view in the history. The first question is, what is your fondest memory? The second question is, what is the most significant moment in the life of the church? And thirdly, what is your hope for the future? So today we are going to be looking at the video I recorded with Don and Barbara Kaspar. Now, Don was a long-term pastor here at Faith, and many years he served us both on the campus that was close to Sam Houston State University, as well as this campus here on Sumac Road. So, without much further ado, I give to you Don and Barbara Kaspar.
The very first memory I have of coming to this town and this church is walking into the building up on the hill on campus and seeing that rock wall. It was a beautiful building, and I wasn't really expecting that. I know this was a small place, and I don't know what I was expecting, but not that. It reminded me of the resurrection, and ever after that, it was a pleasure to walk into that building and look at that rock wall. The other thing involved people. The doorbell rang, and when I went to the door, it was a parsonage at that time. Charlene Forrester was there to greet me, and she had her youngest daughter with her, Melissa, who was very shy and was hiding behind Charlene's skirts. That was one of the first, she was the first one to come to the house at that time, but other people came too, and to make us feel welcome and to help us get settled. So the people were the important thing, and the rock wall.
And the rock wall. There you go.
My fondest memory?
Yes, sir.
Has to do not with being here in Huntsville, but with being in Denver. One year, our oldest daughter and I were the sponsors for our youth group, taking, I think, probably 12 or 15, I don't remember how many, to Denver to the All-Lutheran Youth Gathering. And one of the events there was a trip out to Red Rocks, the amphitheater out in the mountains. We had a nice concert going, and then all of a sudden we had a hailstorm going. And everybody was very frightened, but we were told, stay where you are. So I stayed. But it wasn't long before all of the group, including our daughter, scattered to who knows where. And I didn't know what to do. I sat there for a while, and then I also sought shelter. The fond memory comes when we were all finally in buses, but who knew where our group was in buses? We all just went to the buses as best we could, and then back to the hotel, and we counted people until there was only one left who wasn't there yet. And when we finally heard that one individual coming down the hall, that's my fondest memory because of the tremendous relief I felt, because all of that group was safe. I knew they were having a wonderful time at the event, but to know they were all safe and back together in spite of a really significant threat was a great relief.
Cool. So what would you consider the most significant event here at Faith?
I think for me, the most significant event, really, as I assess my path of ministry during my time, was when we transitioned from the old red hymnal, pages 5 and 15, which we used every Sunday, one or the other, and then moved to a variety of worship settings.
Oh, okay.
I think it's significant because that was kind of a breakthrough. It was a move to be more inclusive and reach out and be perhaps appealing to our contemporaries in a greater way. So I think that was the most significant, one of the most significant moves that was made.
Okay, cool.
For me, I think it was when the congregation decided to sponsor a family of refugees from Vietnam after the fall of Vietnam. It took a lot of work, and a lot of people became involved. We planned on having 3 brothers, I believe the original plan was. We ended up with 4 brothers, one who had a pregnant wife, so it was a larger family than we had anticipated. One of the things I remember about the first thing they said, we had gotten together and found a rent house for them. That needed a lot of work, and a lot of people were involved in cleaning that place up and getting it ready for them. And when we brought them from the airport that night, we were having trouble communicating because they spoke Chinese and we spoke English and didn't do very well. But we managed to find out that their big question was, who else lives here? Because they thought that this space couldn't all be for them, that they were not used to that kind of luxury that we didn't see as very luxurious at all. But they settled in. They were very successful. One of the boys was only 9 years old, and he came kind of by accident. I think somebody shoved him on the boat, and they had to let their parents know later that not only were the 3 older brothers coming, but this youngest child was also coming. So that was interesting. I tried to teach him English and taught him how to read. And I do remember that he told me one day that if he had to learn English, I needed to learn Chinese. And so I think he taught me 2 words, "sei kwa," which was watermelon, I believe. I don't remember. He did a much better job than I did. He's now works as a accomplished mechanic for I don't remember what kind of things, but we've seen him recently, which was very nice to go back and have him come and bring his 2 daughters with him.
Nice.
That whole business ended with the landlord deciding he was going to live in that house.
Oh,
So we must have done a pretty good job of getting it together.
Yep.
Just to fill in, the other word was toje.
Toche, which is rabbit.
Rabbit. I don't know how watermelon and rabbit got in there, but
Rabbit watermelon, there you go.
I couldn't put a sentence together, but anyway, it was a very interesting and fulfilling experience.
Cool.
And maybe we should be more bold about welcoming the strangers that come to us.
Yeah. Was it the Bible passage? You never know who you're welcoming. You may be welcoming angels amongst you when you welcome the stranger and the downtrodden, etc. So
they were really a very, though they were young men and young women, they were very mature and very capable people, and they have thrived here in the United States and made significant contributions.
excellent.
They were craftsmen who could build very high-quality furniture,
Nice.
and they were eventually engaged to build some sort of a big conference table that was used in Houston for some international gathering of some sort.
That is, it's amazing when people are given an opportunity, how well they take advantage of it.
That's exactly right.
Absolutely. So, last question. Your hope for the future?
Well, I hope that we finally get the choir going again. If COVID is ever over,
Which it should be. issue.
Well, yeah.
The effect of it, let's hopefully by this
If there's
fall.
not something else, then.
Yeah.
But the choir has been in force ever since I can remember. I remember back in when we first got here, we had a choir, didn't we?
No, I think it started fairly soon, but it wasn't
Anyway.
in place when we got here.
It's always been a pleasure and a addition to the service, I think. I hope people are still alive that sing in the choir, because some of us may not be, or may not be able to get up the steps. But anyway, I hope that that is something that will survive after this year and a half.
Or crazy.
Yeah, of just a lot of problem.
Yeah.
That's the thing I think I miss the most,
Okay.
is not being able to sing.
And as I look to the future, I think technology is the thing that, it's kind of like a new frontier almost in my vision. And I think as we in the church learn more and more how to use technology in ministry, as we're doing here, but there's so many ways in which I imagine that could be done to address the needs of our own people and the needs of the community, that I think it's important for us to focus on, or to pay attention to what we can do with technology to enhance our ministry.
So you've come a long way from what kind of typewriter did you bring?
I brought an old Royal mechanical typewriter where the pegs kept coming up and banging into the paper. And you had no way to correct except for whiting it out, which was new technology then.
Yeah, true. Yeah, one of those old things.
To an electronic typewriter that I thought was unsurpassable. This has got to be the best thing ever. And then finally, computers came along and made a huge difference in the work we were able to do.
Right.
And who knows what waits in the future.
Yeah. I mean, you've got these tablets and these phones that have so much capacity to them that where I used to work, there was a gigantic room bigger than the sanctuary full of disk drives. And we thought that was like, there's no way in God's way we're going to use up all this space. And they did.
My first introduction to computers was at the University of Alabama before we came here. I spent a couple summers studying there. And they had these punch cards, and it was so cumbersome, so cumbersome.
Oh, yeah.
I never have had a headache like I had a headache.
Well, I appreciate you guys spending some time just going over your thoughts about the history and where faith can be going from here. So I thank you very much. I appreciate it.